Now in the speaking skills, we have completed our part 1. Moving on to part 2. So here in part 2, as I had mentioned earlier, you are given a cue card. And in your cue card, you have a particular topic mentioned. And you are expected to talk about the topic in brief. Okay, and when you complete your presentation, after you finish talking about that particular topic or about the particular issue, you are asked 3 or 4 follow-up questions by the examiner, and you should be able to answer those questions also. Let me give you one example of part 2 question. Okay, so maybe you will have a question like this. So this is part 2. And your question goes like this. Speak about a person who has recently moved to a new home. Okay, so what if you are going to get a question like this? They are expecting you to speak about a person who has recently moved into a new home. You are supposed to speak about whom, you're supposed to explain about whom you're going to talk, or when the person had moved, where the person had moved, why the person had moved, and what difference did the person actually see, and what was the process, what did he have to undergo. So you should make sure you cover all these things when you get a question like this, not just speaking about the person. You should be able to, or your presentation, your answer should be able to answer all these questions. Now, for example, imagine if this question has been posted to me, my answer would go like this. One of my friend who had recently bought a new flat in the heart of the city. Now, why did he buy this flat? So I will explain. He, along with his family, had lived in their ancestral house. The ancestral house was dilapidated. It was too old. It had developed cracks. So maybe my friend and his family members had taken the opinion from expert civil engineers who had suggested the family to immediately move away from the house because the house was in a very weak condition and it would not be able to bear even the slightest tremors. So though my friend and his family had a great feeling and towards this particular ancestral home, they still had to move considering the safety of their family. So they were looking for a house, and finally they had landed in this particular project. Maybe it's an under construction project. He had already seen the model of the house, and the entire family was very happy with the model. And he has actually done his payment also. So after a month or so, he had received the keys of the house. Okay, and the house is situated in the heart of the city, in a posh area with meadows around and lovely park and all the other amenities. And it is a 3-bedroom flat with all basic amenities, as I had said. And my friend has now recently shifted from all his belongings and everything from his ancestral house to this particular flat. And in this way, he was able to, in fact, get rid of all clutter. And now in his new house, he just has limited materials or limited things. He hasn't cluttered his house with unnecessary things. So just limited items, whatever is required. And the house has got a lovely ambience. And my friend is seriously in love with that particular house because it is new and it has also was up to his expectation. So this is how my answer would be for this particular question, speaking about a person who has recently moved to a new home. I have mentioned who it was. I have mentioned the reason why he wanted to move. I've also said where he has moved. And I've also given you the end result as to how he has felt. How happy has he been once he had shifted his residence from his ancestral house to his new house. Am I right? So this is the end of my presentation. Now after you speak, you will have the examiner asking you a few follow-up questions. Let me come up with the first follow-up question. Your first question can be like this. Is it easier to move homes today than it was a decade ago? So this can be a possible follow-up question. As I said, not necessary that it should just be one question. It can be any number of questions. So here my answer can be like this. Yes, it is easier to move homes today than it was a decade ago. Was it? Is it true? What do you feel? I feel it is definitely easier. It has become more easier these days because we have so many service providers who help us in moving or shifting your residences, in moving places. It has really become so easy. This packing and moving has become so easy. It's become so organized. And initially we had to physically pack our goods. We did not have any professionals help, but these days that is not the case. We have people who are professionally trained for this packing and moving purposes, and we also have these small vehicles which help us in transportation. And we also have a lot of carton boxes. Okay, those days that was not available. We had to go behind jute bags. But carton boxes of different sizes, small size, a medium size, a larger size. So based upon those carton boxes, okay, you can always stuff our things in and it can be helped in moving. So, and all this happens completely under the supervision of the customer. So that gives us complete happiness and satisfaction when it comes to the packing and moving process. The next possible question. Have you ever moved homes? So how can I answer for this? I can say, yes, I have moved homes. When I was very small, or when I was around 6 or 7 years old, I had to move to this particular apartment where I'm currently living in, along with my family. I was emotionally attached to the particular apartment in which I was living with my family. But we couldn't continue living there because the construction was becoming weaker day by day. And it was definitely not safe for us to live. So we had to move to a new apartment. But luckily, we had found the apartment in the same area. And that helped me to keep in touch with my friends. It's just that we have changed our residence, but the friends and the surroundings, everything remained the same. So in that way, I was very happy because I was emotionally attached to my house. And since the house was very weak, we had to move. But my emotional attachment towards my area, my friends, and the surroundings were still continued because we found a new house in the same area.